Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and for today's video on Umamusume, while discussing some video ideas with my chat last night on stream, one of the ideas brought up would be to cover kind of priority polls when it comes to Umas and support cards for specific positions, whether it be frontrunner, pace chaser, late surger, or end closer over the next couple scenarios / the next year. I know a lot of other content creators are kind of starting to do this as well, because that was the idea, would be to have me react to one of them being Momin, who I've reacted to some of his videos before. But I thought instead, because I think I have my own opinions, especially on some more niche Umas and support cards that I don't think a lot of people talk about, especially when it comes to making parents, as that's one of my favorite things to do in the game. I know a lot of people don't like doing that. So I thought I'd make my own video covering first front runners. We'll go all the way through up to the Mihono Bourbon Wit card, the big one that I think a lot of us are ready to get, because we all know about that one having golden groundwork. Of course, we all know about Summer Murzenski, but there's a lot of stuff in the middle that me and a lot of other content creators kind of glance over, as they're not big priorities, but they are very niche and could have some value, especially if you off-banner pull them when it comes to making parents. And there is a lot of good cards that I don't think many people have discussed for that particular those particular scenarios. And I'll even showcase some of my thoughts with those cards relating to how I'll be adjusting my deck in the future for really making strong parents and grandparents, as well as what's going to help me make very strong aces. And so with that, we're just going to get right into it. This is going to be a fairly long video. Now we're just going to follow the gotcha banners from where we're currently at all the way through Mihono Bourbon. And this one's going to be centered on front runners. And so we will skip over the ones that really aren't focused front runners, or aren't going to have really any value to them. But there is quite a bit to talk about through this, especially when it comes to the stuff you've probably not heard much about at all, because they're going to be easy skips. But with that, let's just go ahead and get right into it. All right, getting into the first banner to talk about here for frontrunners coming up here on the next banner is going to be the rerun of Ines Fujin Guts, as well as Twin Turbo Speed. Twin Turbo Speed being the only reason to really use it would be to try and get taking the lead on Mihono Bourbon Valentine's, as she cannot use her own wit card. But if you probably played with the Fuku Speed card at all, you already know you got to win those 3 50/50s and to get taking the lead on her, and it is just not worth that time and effort. And it's overall, you have better speed cards, the stat sticks and all that, so you're not going to really want to pull over Twin Turbo. Now, Ines Fujin was a Guts card I talk a lot highly about for Guts build, being that it has really strong frontrunner skills in it, has your gold heal, so for like Tokyo 2400, which will be coming up here on the next CM after Aries Cup. Being able to do a Guts build on a frontrunner could be fairly strong, but it's definitely not a card that I would say pull for specifically on this banner. It's more of you lucked out and got copies of her, that she's going to be a very strong Guts card, because she has that speed bonus frontrunner skills, as well as your gold heal. But outside of that, not really worth your carrots. There's too many other good options coming up. You have King Halo I've talked about. She's not really related to Frontrunner. Kind of the same thing here. Bamboo Memory is more of your end closers and late surgers. But the next big frontrunner one, and one I have not heard a lot of people talk about. Now, I will say this is a very, very whale option here. This is for the medium spenders, but it's also something to think about if you end up pulling her as an off-banner pull on future Umas. And that is going to be Ines Fujin. She is one that I'm actually going to be pulling for here when she drops. And now you might ask the question, because we already know, I've discussed it, and we'll get to her down the line here, as we're going to be going all the way through to Mihono Bourbon Wit support card. There will be an Ines Fujin Valentine's that's going to be very strong, as she's very similar to Mihono Bourbon Valentine's. But this one is actually very good as well, just more niche. And the big reason is going to be in her alt, she has we can just call it kind of the equivalent of a Triumphant Pulse, but for frontrunners. But it only works on Tokyo 2400, as it has a specific condition that you're coming off of an uphill at a specific period, or at specifically 300 meters, which only happens on Tokyo 2400. But if you hit that, even if you're in the front, you get this big 0.45 speed increase. So very, very strong as an inherit one for your other front runners for Tokyo 2400. But also herself a very strong, hey, I was in the lead, I got angling off, let's keep myself in the lead and win this race. So pretty good right there. Now it's niche because, as I said, it's only for Tokyo 2400, which only applies to the Japanese Derby and Japan Cup or Japanese Oaks. But the other big thing is more relating to parents now. She has Slipstream built in, and then a new skill that'll be coming out called With All My Soul, and she has the gold version of that, which is Wild Wind, which is basically like a speed eater for your mediums. Now, it's not as strong as Speed Eater. Speed Eater lasts 3 seconds, while this one only lasts 1.8 seconds, and I believe the white's also 1.8 seconds. And the speed decrease is not as strong on the white. Being able to get this in your parents and grandparents, especially if you're like me and you want to do like that triple front runner build, having 3 of these debuffs, including her, if you have her, that can be very strong because not only does it buff your one frontrunner, basically buffs all of them because it's slowing everybody down. Well, not everybody, but the 5 closest behind, and can be very, very useful. The gold skill being very useful to have because the gold skill makes it where your chances of getting it on your parent or grandparent are much higher. She also has playtimes over built in, dodging danger, early read, and frontrunner straightaways. So to me, just an overall very convenient Uma for getting a lot of harder to get skills on my frontrunner parents. Slipstream being like the biggest one. There's really not too many options to get it right now, other than through inheritance or looking out on hints, which are much harder to get at this point, because you're doing so much racing, and they're coming off of not as good of cards like Ines Fujin Guts. Not really seeing myself using that for parent runs. Right now, potentially in the future, but you also have Sweep Tosho Speed. Don't really see that on the SR as well. So just really, really good, but for parents. So it is more of a whale option. I just thought I'd bring it up. If you do end up picking up her off banner on a future poll, don't be afraid to use her as a parent/grandparent grind. Just going to be all around good and convenient for getting some skills that you may not already have built into your parents or grandparents at this time. So really nice there. Now, the thing that sucks is, of course, Valentine's Ines Fujin, which we'll be getting to here later, is much, much better than her and generically good as a frontrunner. But we have that, and then kind of continuing through it, the next Uma after her is another frontrunner. Now, Major Palmer is your long frontrunner Runaway. So you've probably already seen Silent Suzuka as a runaway on longs, but she's been more of a rabbit to help out your other frontrunners. Was my strategy with Pisces Cup. Didn't work out for me, although my Silent Suzuka did help out my opponent when they beat me. She has even more in her kit to really help her be that runaway on longs. I feel like she'll be actually potentially strong for the Arima Keenan since it's much shorter to actually be able to win it herself. Her biggest thing, she has a heal in her ult built in with a speed increase. So pairing that with another heal, she actually, as a runaway, has the survivability to actually not outright die like we see with a lot of other, with the Silent Suzuka runaways. We have that. She has playtimes over built in, a nice one to just keep her in that first place. Frontrunner straightaways. But she has the gold version of playtimes over. Now, I will say, one of the negatives outright with Major Palmer is going into Grand Live when Runaways will be able to be built again because we'll have access to our events again. Light Hello herself has gold playtimes over built in. Everybody's going to have gold playtimes over. And so this loses it loses pretty much all of its value in Grand Live because we have easy access to it. But it is very strong in its own right for potentially other scenarios when we lose the gold version of it. She has that paired alongside, she has built in early lead, but then Vanguard Spirit, which is a more of a runaway skill versus just a front runner skill, because it is one that if you're in the lead by a fair margin, you get a speed increase. So something to just keep her out there as a runaway, which is very important. And your really only access we had to it at this point was, especially for Silent Suzuka as a runaway, was the Major Palmer Guts card, which to me is an okay-ish card, but you weren't going to use it at all on an ace build for her. And so that's nice to have it in there. And then, of course, she has Frontrunner Savvy Runaway. And she's basically a better one for your longs in that, right? To me, an easy skip. I don't see myself wanting to try and do a Runaway on Arima Keenan, but if you have her, she has some potential in that right. Going to be much better than Silent Suzuka in that regard. Then continuing on from there, we have another one up here, and this is kind of a niche frontrunner, potentially pace chaser situation, but we'll talk about it just so you know. So you have Curran Chan Wedding. I've talked about her quite a bit. She's going to be meta for 1,000-meter sprints, which all the Champions Meetings ones are 1,200. And the reason is she has basically an acceleration speed that can activate at 350 meters. Now, right now, the 1,200 sprints are like right at the 400-meter mark, which there's another Uma we'll be getting to here in the future that has something very similar to this, but happened at 400 meters. But hers is 350, which is basically perfect timing for your 1,000-meter sprints. And there is going to be one League of Heroes, which is another endgame alternate to Champions Meetings in the future, where you're actually going to care about all of your Umas doing very well, that she is going to be a very meta option for. Now, this is the list of all the League of Heroes as they were released in the Japanese version, which they first came out with Grand Masters. The 1,000 meters comes out right here at the very beginning of the Great Wind Food Festival. Now, that is quite a ways away, and it's the only 1,000 meter that has ever run. This one is literally just a straight track. There's no corners in it at all, and that Curran Chan Wedding will be very strong there. The thing is, though, it's this far out. If you're willing to buy the selectors for Umas, you can just buy it around this time frame. Just get Curran Chan right before that 1,000 meter. Just buy the selector on the anniversary, pick Curran Chan Wedding, and now you have the meta Uma for this League of Heroes. And so, while I think she's cool and she is having that built-in acceleration, I would prefer the original with the Gamble acceleration versus her for the other sprints at this point. I feel like she's an easy skip unless you are unwilling to spend any money and you want that meta Uma for that one League of Heroes. I guess you can pull on her. But other than that, I mean, she's pretty good on everywhere else in here. She has Adored by All, which is that speed decrease. Just all around good debuff for that. And then Turbo Sprint, one of your Gamble accelerations that you can pair with it. So yeah, to me, she will be a selector. Just get the selector and select her as the Uma once we get closer to that 1,000 meter sprint League of Heroes. And then kind of continuing on from here, those are not really front there. You got Sweep Tosho. I'll just make a note on her. For some people want to pull over her. She has one thing that is kind of the only thing to me. I mean, some people she'll be an Oshi pick. She's going to be our first occurrence of seeing another green skill come into the game called Restraint. And so until we get the actual Sweep Tosho Wit card, which will be coming towards, I think towards the end of Grand Live, which we'll talk about here in a second, she's going to be your only way to really get it built into Parents at this time. And hopefully somebody else grinds out that, because I'm not going to. But it's a green skill that could activate Groundwork. But we're not too worried about needing this at this point. But it's just another green option. I thought I'd just make note of that real quick. Not any reason for frontrunners to pull. Just know that maybe somebody else will grind out that in their parents and grandparents, and then you can try and cycle it in at some point based off that. But right after that, we have the Taiki Shuttle Speed SSR that'll drop. Now, this one is a very, very bait support card, but it's a very strong Mile support card. It's basically Taiki Shuttle's kit in a speed support card. She has hint levels 4, really, really nice for getting all the hints that she has, which are all the Mile-related ones. She has training effectiveness 10. She has race bonus 5%, so basically the same thing as your Kita-san Black. But what makes her really good is she has Mile Maven Gold, and the only support card at this point that has it, all the way up into the JP version, which you know is very strong. And then she, of course, has Productive Plan, Shifting Gears, Speed Eater, which if you get those hints, you get the max value out of it. The problem is, she dropped, if you kind of compare her dropping here on June 19th of 2022 for the JP version. And you look at the champions meeting. If we go up to our mile here, which is Gemini Cup, this was June 19th. She dropped the day of the finals for the JP version, or basically the end. The finals ended. And then they dropped Taiki Shuttle Mile, or Taiki Shuttle Speed, which we don't do another mile for 1, 2, 3, and then it's the 4th Champions Meeting. This one's going to be in Grand Live, and it's going to be very tricky to kind of fit her in. And being a speed card, you might have the options for just borrowing her for this mile. If you think about it, hopefully you have Kita-san Black. So you should have Kita-san Black MLB. You have Agnes Tachyon Speed Pace, which you should be pulling on the Light Hello banner. So the Agnes Tachyon Speed card would be a strong one. And then also you have Summer Maruzensky. There's your 3 right there. And so you would basically, in this option, borrow Taiki Shuttle to replace Agnes Tachyon Speed, which could have some detrimental effects because she's a link card. But, I mean, if you get that high roll and make it work, you could get Professor's Curvature with Mile Maven, as well as, the gold version of Leader's Pride off Summer Maruzensky, alongside hopefully having, like, Fine Motion, Wit, maybe a nice Nature Wit. Of course, you have Light Hello in that deck. But kind of think about it from that perspective. Very good borrow card. I would not pull for this card, but it is very good for your frontrunners outside of Summer Maruzensky because she has this built in. I think that and Taiki Shuttle, of course, has it built in as well. She couldn't use this card anyway. But very easy skip, but very good notable one to borrow. Let's see here. So you have that. Then you kind of get into the camping ones. I'll kind of take note of Taiki Shuttle here because some people use her as a front runner. I find the camping one not to be as strong as the OG one, at least on most of the mile tracks. Still has a Mile Maven built in, but she's got neck and neck. That's a pace chaser skill. So I would not use this one over the OG one when it comes to if you're going to build that front runner one. The alt works much better on that heavy front runner meta miles for Taiki Shuttle, but outside of that, not really the strongest when it comes to front runners. I believe Alcondor Pasa Guts, if I remember, was not really. Yeah, that's pace chaser focused. So then you call them all the way up to the next one. Now I've mentioned this one. Some people talk about. I mean, you should be getting her on a selector or whatnot. If you're a front runner main at this point, you should hopefully have Sayun Sky. But she does rerun here. Of course, she's that meta inherit that you want on your as a parent for your front runners to get angling and scheming on anything basically outside of the longs. So very strong Uma there. Then after that, we have the Throne banner. Easy skip. Just think of this. This is the group card. It can give you universal rainbows. Much stronger than the free one that we have with the team, whatever it's called, Team Cyrus card. Very strong card. Just make it your permanent borrow for the last 2 CMs. Do not pull on this one, but you're going to want it on your front runners and all your other positions. But easy skip. We then come into the summer banners, and this one could, depending on how many pulls you have, could hurt you. Now you have Summer Maruzensky. Let's talk about the sport cards first. We have Summer Maruzensky Speed. We've talked about her a lot already, so I don't need to go too into depth on her. But she is the must-have speed card for front runners. Get Limit Break 1 at least. That unlocks the power bonus. You don't really need the mood effect. You get most of what you want out of this card in Limit Break 1. Biggest negative being at Limit Break 1 only having Race Bonus 2, while you need, I believe it's, Limit Break 3 to get 5%. But we're getting ready to finish up Track Blazer at this point, and Grand Live Race Bonus isn't going to matter to that level, and so Limit Break 1 will be quite fine. But as we already know with her, has all the front runner stuff you could ever want in her card, and then the gold version of Leader's Pride, which is a very strong front runner skill. She's talked about a lot. We don't need to go into depth on her. Very big one to pull on. Now we have the other one, the other banner with Gold Ship Summer and McQueen Summer. Gold Ship Summer being a Team Trials parent Uma. A lot of people just view her as a borrow, which, yeah, I mean, when you're updating your Team Trials, just borrow her and you can get her alt into your ace, or your Team Trials ace. Biggest thing being that she randomly activates a gold in the second half of the race. which is a lot more, which basically gives you a lot of points for team trials. So very good skill on that capacity. I wouldn't worry too much about anything in here on the Uma. She's more just for your inherits for team trials. But if you want to build her as an ace, I mean, you will build her yourself if you have her for team trials, because she gets 2 random golds in the second half, which can be very, very strong. But it's very random also. But that is gold ship there. The other one being McQueen, because I know some people think of McQueen when it comes to making her a front runner with her OG one. She is front B. She's all focused on stamina. And so this is the people that you have to have mandatory. Have 3 heals, 1200 stamina on that 3200. You're going to love this McQueen because she's one of those ones where you want an overabundance of stamina, as she has scaling duration based off her current HP. And she has Headliner, which is a good one for longs. It's the gold version of Feature Act. But then she has another gold heal that her and Narita Top Road down the road will have. And this is one of those giant heals. Normally have the 0.055 heal. This one's a 0.075 heal. So that's going to help her out with having that overabundance of stamina. But then even crazier, when she gets her evolution, it becomes a tremendously large heal, which is a 0.095. It's almost the value of 2 golds. And so going to be very healthy on that side of things. Has play times over early lead. If you want to build her as a front runner, she'll take a bit of work, but definitely possible to make it work. But she's, to me, more of a pace chaser as well. But just some thoughts on that if you really like McQueen. I prefer the OG McQueen's alt to the point. I mean, that one's already strong in its own right. But, I mean, we've already seen with Major O'Bright the potential of those scaling durations for overabundance of stamina, which she is definitely capable of doing. So that is them. We can kind of move up here now. Bamboo Memory's not really a front runner here. You have Yukino Bijin coming for No Stopping Me. Not really valuable on your front runners unless you're doing your the rabbit strategy with like a Runaway. To me, that strategy is going to fall off at this point, especially when we get into Grand Live. And we're getting ready to finish up Track Blazer at this point. So Ikino Dictus Guts with their 15% race bonus. No, don't worry about that. Easy skip. We then have Quopano Ricky, the dirt champion. Now she is kind of both, can be a front or a pace. I think I'm going to maybe run her more as a pace. But if you want to run her as a front runner, her ult basically has you getting exactly what you need on a front runner in terms of your greens. Her biggest downside being that you want to get 6 greens. I know some people already struggle with getting the 3 for groundwork. On Summer Mruzensky, she wants 3 of them because it scales on how many she activated the early race. And now she does have 3 built in, but only if you build her as a pace. She has Pace Chaser Savvy. She has Skillful Step and Exchange Races, and of course the gold version of those. And with Pace Chaser Savvy, and then the 2 dirt-specific ones, that brings her up to 3, which then makes it a little bit easier, because then you just need to get the other 3, whether it be like right-handed, left-handed, cloudy days, firm conditions, all of those. You just need 3 of the others, just like Summer Mruzensky, as you have 2 new ones already built in. Very, very strong. Now you can make her as a front runner. Just know that you now need to get 4 on top of the 2 built in, and that's only for dirt. She is Turf F, so if you really love her, I guess you could build her for Turf. But not worth it, she's the dirt queen. Just bring her there. But a very good pickup. But I know a lot of people are viewing her as optional because dirt are very rare. Well, I'm saying rare, but they're rare enough that for a lot of people she'll be an easy skip and maybe pick up later on a selector. And it makes sense because she is right before the next big banner where we have, well, another big front runner. We have Smart Falcon Grand Live. She's going to get probably overshadowed. One, a lot of people, if you already got your Dirt Uma with the normal OG Smart Falcon, she's good enough. She's kind of a bit better, in my opinion, over her, depending on the tracks, with her own speed skill here and having some stamina recovery if needed on the dirt races, which primarily she's more focused towards dirt. To me, not going to be as good for turf if you want to put all the turf sparks in her. She has 2 good dirt golds on her. Just pretty much has all that stuff built in as a front runner for the dirts. Copano Ricky, to me, overshadows her in that respect, although she'll be a little bit easier to build over her. But her problem is we have the big one that we've all talked about, Light Hello, Agnes Tack, and Speed. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about Light Hello, because I said I'd kind of make a twist to this in terms of the value of some of the support cards. Light Hello, to me, is a very, very good card, not only for Grand Live, but I will actually be taking this card back into Track Blazer for my parent runs. And that is because I've already talked about it here. She has gold playtimes over in her kit. And so there's a lot of skills that you're going to want to try and get into your parents and grandparents in terms of their value towards your front runners. Now, you're going to have this in Grand Live when you build your aces, so it's not going to be really important to get playtimes over in your parents in Grand Live. But as you can see here, after Grand Live, she falls off, and we don't see gold playtimes over come back until Kyoko Hoshina, which is the Hot Springs PAL card. And depending on what support cards you're using at the time, getting playtimes over, as you can see, we're already kind of moving through 4 of the cards that have it in the events for easy access. Now, there's a ton that have it as a hint, of course. But getting it built into your parents for the future now is going to be very important. And as I've talked about when it comes to making parents and grandparents, the gold skills, depending on how many you have in your parent-grandparent chain, can get you all the way up to a 70% chance to get the white spark for it. Versus if you have the white, it's only a 35 additional percent chance. So she has 5% race bonus, which isn't as good as like Rico, but she actually has a valuable gold that you can then kind of, and everybody's going to be pulling for her. And now I will say, if you're going for that lower limit break as a free to play, you don't get as much race bonus. It's a sacrifice you're kind of making on her. But the biggest thing you're missing out is initial speed. But very, very nice for bringing her back potentially, depending on what decks you're using, for building your parents and grandparents. Because even when when Grand Live drops, Track Blazer is still the place to build your parents and grandparents. So just note that she's going to be good for that. She has front runner savvy built in. See you later. Going to love using her in Track Blazer after I pull for her as my parent making a PAL card. And what we've seen, like with Rico, she should have similar effects, although instead of giving a bunch of stamina, she's going to top you up on some more guts more than anything, and she has speed mixed in with those guts. A lot of energy, big energy on her. And then at the very end of the dates, which very easy, just spam the dates on all the off days, and then you'll get her see you later hint. So to me, very good card for Track Blazer as well when it comes to parents and grandparents for your front runners. And we're going to get to what my deck is going to look like here after a few more banners, because I'll showcase how you can kind of use this in a deck in Track Blazer to get a lot of strong skills. We have Winning Ticket and Rita Taishin after that. That one's not any big of a deal. We have then coming here Twin Turbo SSR Guts. And so her big thing, Guts cards basically a fall off in Grand Live for your ace building. She has the 1000% output. This one is kind of that tricky one. It has a big speed increase, but a stamina drain to it. Not really something I'm too worried about trying to get this for like inherits or anything. Now, I mean, it's really your only option to get it at this point in the game. So if you want to get this one, this white one, you have a few other options, which we'll be looking at one here in a second to get it, but not really anything I would pull for or borrow realistically. Tokai Teo Wit. This one actually has value as a borrow to me. I would not pull for this one. Very strong stat stick on the Wit side. We all know Major Romanu's coming not too long after this, so you really don't need to pull for any other Wit cards until her. Her biggest thing is she has Professor of Curvature, and so her value for frontrunners is specifically for Kitasan Black, because Kitasan Black can't get Professor of Curvature off of Kitasan Black support card, So you can borrow this card to bring on your Kitasan Black run to get Professor of Curvature on her. Outside of that, I don't see too much value because you're already going to be getting Professor of Curvature on Kitasan Black. So very easy skip on that one. But that's just the thing to note for your Kitasan Black. Then you have, of course, your Smart Falcon Power rerun. She's very good for getting your groundwork with it being in that first chain. But at this point, you're still doing Track Blazer, and you're running into the problem like I have, which is I have to borrow Smell Falcon, even though I have one copy of her, because you don't get your race bonus until you get to race Limit Break 3, and you don't get 10% to get Limit Break 4. But we're not far off at this point. We're basically, 6 months away from this at this point, from getting Mihono Bourbon Wit, which has golden groundwork. Silent Suzuka Speed is dead at this point to me because you have a Speed Summer Maru Zensky. So very easy to skip banner. So I wouldn't even worry about that. She's not really a front runner here. What was this one? I think this one's more of a late surger card too. Yeah, this one's a late surger. Okay, so yeah, neither of those are front runners. This one right here, though, this banner is one I don't think I've really heard anybody talk about it. Now, I haven't watched any of the people making their videos run future front runners, but the Daitako Helios SSR Speed and Major Palmer SSR Stamina. Now, this one I feel like is going to be a very easy skip for most, but I really like this Daitako Helios Speed card as being like my main speed borrow for parent runs in Track Lasers. She has that 10% race bonus, so pretty nice right there, especially since there's a lot of 5% I want to use in my parent runs. So that's a good one to have there. But her biggest thing is she has a bunch of good stuff in here for your front runners. Daitako Helios being a front runner herself. She has, but her biggest thing is she has Golden Slipstream. So this is going to be our first kind of access to getting Slipstream easily. Because Slipstream right now, you pretty much have to get off a hint, as I've already talked about. And one of the reasons I said Ines Fujin is a frontrunner, very nice having it built in. But she has the gold version of it, and being a speed card. And so getting Slipstream built into your parents will be much easier with her, especially if you've already started grinding out, if you've already seen. There's a couple of us that have some fairly decent parent and grandparents with multiple copies of Slipstream amongst a bunch of other frontrunner stuff in her. You get yourself all the way up to a 70% chance to spark her. And just note, in Grand Live, we will have rerolls, so it'll be even easier to get the sparks. Well, it's going to be about double the time, or double the value out of each run with the rerolls. And she will be a very nice borrow. To me, a nice borrow. She is paired with Major Palmer SSR Stamina here, which has taking the lead. So I know some might feel this is a good one to pull on. This is more of a bait banner. I mean, there's just so many other things of value that you want to save up for. Major Romanu, Mihono Bourbon Wit, which aren't too far apart from each other going into Grand Masters. So I would not pull on these. But it is a decent stamina card with taking the lead. Has a bunch of other frontrunner stuff. And so now this one, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't have any race bonus. So I wouldn't really want to use this on a parent run. But just something to note with that one. If you're like a whale, like you're pulling on any valuable banners to a certain extent, I feel like this one's a good one to kind of whale out on. But definitely not for a medium spender, light spender. Daitako Helios is definitely a good borrow. Now this is where I'm going to kind of talk about when it comes to forming your decks now, because I'm saying this is a borrow. Well, I know a lot of you more free to plays, you've got a lot of things you're having to borrow, and you only can borrow one card. And so I thought I'd kind of look at what my deck will look like at this point for parent runs, because this is kind of where I'll have my next iteration of my parent deck for Track Blazer. And let me see, I think I have it open here. Yeah, right here. So this is the deck I am looking at for Track Blazer up to this point. It'll depend on off-banner support card pulls, of course. But this is going to be very good for getting decent parent, grandparent, generic frontrunners. Summer Maru Zensky, Golden taking the, or Golden Leader's Pride. Now, she only has 5% race bonus. Now, the one negative is the race bonus in this deck. She has 5% race bonus, but she has all your frontrunner skills, plus that golden leader's pride. Daitako Helios has 10% race bonus. She'd be my main borrow. She has that, she has golden slipstream. Now, trying to guarantee groundwork. Now, at my point, I have strong enough ones that I could gamble for groundwork. But Sakura Bakshin, I do have one copy of her at Limit Break 0. She brings in that race bonus of 5%, and depending on where she lands, has that 20% training effectiveness. So, to me, she'll be an alright alt. Like, she's there for groundwork, and she can be an additional training effectiveness card in there. But she is only 5% race bonus. If I get like off-banner hits on Smart Falcon becomes a very good option. And then when Mihono Bourbon Wit drops, which we'll be talking about her as like the last thing, she gets replaced with Mihono Bourbon Wit for parent-grandparent runs. And she has gold groundwork, making that even easier. We then have Light Hello, of course, another 5% one there. She has golden playtimes over. So now I have playtimes over, Slipstream, and Leader's Pride all in there. Very, very nice. And then, of course, we have Marvelous Sunday. I mean, I'm hurting on race bonus at this point, as you can see. I'm bringing in the 215% with our free Marvelous Sunday, free Nishino Flowers, my 2 power cards. This deck should be able to get SS rank, which is very important for the White Sparks to have higher amounts of stars. And she has Ramp Up and Tail Held High that I could potentially hit on her as well. And so this would be my main deck, and this is what I'm looking at here. And if you kind of think about what cards you should have been pulling at this point, most people should have Nishino Flower MLB at this point, hopefully, if you've been playing for a decent amount of time. If you played during Marvelous Sunday when she dropped, everybody should have her. If you did the event, everybody should be pulling on Light Hello. If you've off-bannered Bakshin or Smart Falcon, you have her. If you have not, hopefully you just have parents and grandparents. You can just gamble for groundwork if you have it heavily established within your parents and grandparents. It's going to be like a 60% chance to get it on inspiration, and so you could gamble over that and bring another speed card to kind of help out. Everybody should be pulling for Summer Muruzensky, and now she might be a little tricky because if you only go to Limit Break 1, of course you're losing some of your race bonus. But doing that, just kind of thinking about it, from everybody pulling kind of priority and frontrunners, you should have at least 4 of these cards, which allows you to borrow Daitako Helios, and then Bakshin kind of be that one that you'll maybe have to gamble on groundwork and take something else. But I feel like most people who are focused on frontrunners should be able to build a deck like this. And then eventually we will be able to replace her with Mihono Bourbon Wit when she drops your parent runs. She doesn't have any race bonus. But at this point, we're getting ready to move out of doing Track Blazer, and eventually I believe Lark will be the next scenario where you can really start ramping up your parent and grandparents that's not Track Blazer. But even then, at that sacrifice point, this still gives me a, for me personally with that 5, this still gets me up to 50%. So we have 30, 40, and then 50, which is kind of the bare minimum. And I'm getting all the main skills I want. So on a frontrunner parent build, that should still be able to get a very strong SS even at that lower race bonus. So just some thoughts on some decks and how it will evolve for myself, and how this could be something you could be looking at building yourself if you're doing the pulls for frontrunners kind of in the same priority that I am. So I thought I'd just make good notice. I think this is one that's going to be overshadowed because, I mean, we have so many other cards that are better for aces. Kita-san Black, Agnes Tachyon Speed, as well as Summer Muruzensky. So she will definitely get overshadowed, but not something to forget. She's a very strong borrow in my opinion. All right, so that was kind of a lot of yapping there. But that's one of my more favorite borrows that'll be coming up here soon. Now we have Aston Machan, another really strong frontrunner that I feel like is going to get overshadowed for sprints. I've heard some people talking about her, but a lot of people that talk about her as being an Oshi versus being just a good all-around Uma. And that is because I feel like she's going to be able to be built as a more consistent for sprints. Now, sprints are sprints. I mean, it's going to be very hard to be super, super consistent. But If you remember Curran-chan, she had the ult that activated at 350 meters, which was good for 1,000-meter sprints. Hers activates at 400 meters, which is good timing for 1,200, which is all the Champions Meeting sprints, as well as all the other ones in League of Heroes, which I think there are a couple others. Yeah, there's this one, and this one. So there's a couple of those 1,200 sprints in League of Heroes as well. So very good. And it's got a condition that works pretty much all the time. Now, the timing of it may not always be the best, but at 400 meters, basically, she can get a speed and acceleration starting at 400 meters if someone's getting ready to pass her. So if they're coming in and someone's getting ready to pass her right at the acceleration zone, she's going to pop off. She's going to get that big 0.3 acceleration, and she's going to launch herself. It lasts for 5 seconds, so she's going to just outright be able to win in that aspect. Now, if someone's not getting ready to overtake her, meaning she's in the front, and nobody's getting ready to overtake her, well, then she's going to just stay there, and she's going to stay in the lead. I mean, no one's trying to overtake her, then she's in the lead. And then if it's a little bit later and someone starts to try and overtake her, she then gets the speed boost with the acceleration to try and keep her in the lead. So that final push to keep her ahead of the pace chasers or late surgers that are trying to catch and pass her. And so to me, this is a very, very strong ult, as well as a decent inherit. You have the 0.1, not as strong, but definitely a very good parent for your sprints, because you just want to get whatever you can in there. And this doesn't have a condition around straightaway or corner, and the two champions meetings will alternate between are the straightaway and corner one. But that's not everything with her. Now I'm saying, well, you have to have her in the lead, right, to really be able to take advantage of this. Well, her kit is built around her being able to be in the lead, at least get herself in the lead early on, and if she has a strong mid game, keep it. And that's when it comes down to her skills down here. She has taking the lead built in. Now, we all know taking the lead is not as strong as groundwork in the time, because it only lasts 1.2 seconds, even though it is a 0.4. And let me just switch it to global for a second to make sure I don't have any buffs on it. Yes, we have that. And then she has groundwork built in, which is really nice. 0.2 that lasts for 3 seconds. But when we get evolutions, when you get the evolutions, you evolve the gold skill. She evolves taking the lead from a 0.4 for 1.2 seconds to a 0.4 that lasts 4 seconds. So longer than groundwork. So not only does she have groundwork built in for 0.2 and 3 seconds, she now has taking the lead that lasts for 4 seconds. So it should, unless you have a runaway, of course. I mean, runaway should be able to get ahead of her. She should be able to establish herself a very strong lead early on with this skill. And so that's like the one thing I really like on this. A big acceleration right off the bat. She has 3 seconds of 0.6 with an additional 1 second of 0.4 to really push her out there. At that point, she should be at max speed. And then, of course, she has the gold version of Light as a Feather for sprints. Nice speed skill that is a random approach late race skill. Now, she evolves that one to be basically the same thing, but now it has an acceleration tied to it. So she can accelerate up to that speed quicker. And if you're lucky, and it hits at a right timing, you can get acceleration for the late race. So she has her own unique gamble acceleration speed carryover as well. To me, she's going to be very, very strong for your sprints. And even to me, strong on miles if you want to take advantage of that massive boost she has to taking the lead. Although you don't really get to take advantage of high spirits for the miles. But really good pickup for front runners. Now, so to me, she's a mandatory pickup if you want to build front runners for sprints. I will be pulling for her. We'll have to see. I just haven't heard much talk about her, but she's definitely a good one there. You have the fine motion, Maruzenski speed, rerun here. Good chance for you to, if you only got like limit break one of her, you can push for MLB here if you still need fine motion copies. Just note that fine motion will start to fall off in a scenario. So you won't get as much value out of fine motion, but Maruzenski will still continue to hold value for a while. We keep going up here. Okay, so this one's a rerun. Let's see, I can't remember all of these. make sure. Yeah, she was not one. And then you have symbol like Chris S. She's more that late surger card you'll hear a lot about. Tamama Cross, Pace Chaser, Nari 1 End Closer. Let's see. You have Muteki Guts card. And hers was Killer Tunes. And so she has tail held high, medium straight. So she's just an outright. You've already probably know with the power Muteki card, she's basically the same thing, but instead of it's on, you have Killer Tunes built in. Now you don't have access to, which I like on the power card, which is playtime's over on her second event, but she has easy access to left-handed. But it's a Guts card, and Guts card's kind of fallen off at this point. So, I mean, not any reason to really want to pull for her. And then Ogre Cap Wit, I'm pretty sure is not frontrunner good at all. Yeah, it's a Pace Chaser specific card. I mean, you have Super Creek here. Super Creek is going to continue to hold on value for a little bit until Sounds of Earth kind of overshadows her when she comes out. But Sounds of Earth is by no means a like complete power creep to the point you have to have her. That is going to be Air Shocker stamina. So Super Creek can have her value here, but just know, I mean, Mr. CB, if you're not running end closers ever, you don't get really any value out of that. But if you're kind of mix and matching your end closers with front runners, a good way to get your generic heal alongside getting some copies of Mr. CB. Let's see. Yeah, she's not really one. Yeah, so the next one after that, Asian Flash, is more late surger focused. We have Daiwa Scarlet Christmas. Now, I say I like the original over the Christmas one. Hers, if you're in the front during any second half straight, your speed will increase. Bonus speed if you're first, and there's another girl right behind you. So she gets a big speed increase for 6 seconds here. I just like the OG one because she has the acceleration for trying to get that rocket launch off on the acceleration. It is a gamble, but it's one that's unique to her that you can somewhat make work with, like a rabbit or something with your lungs and all that. She has Restless built in, though, and she has Untouchable Shadow, which is a gold version of Steadfast. But to me, it just, I like the original better in that aspect. But she is another frontrunner if you really like Daiwa Scarlet that you can pick up. And the nice thing is, she is paired with Vodka Christmas, which is another kind of inherent acceleration pickup. Not like crazy must have, but it is an okay Uma banner if you really like your Daiwa Scarlet frontrunner. But there's a lot other options that to me would be higher priority, so you probably want to skip that. Let's see, I don't think she was. Yeah. Make sure I'm trying to avoid skipping anything here. There's a lot of Umas to kind of cover here. Narita Bryan Blaze is more your big Pace Chaser hitter. But we get all the way to the New Year's banner, and Kita-san Black, you've probably already heard this, but Kita-san Black is always, all the Kita-san Blacks are good. A lot of people are calling her Kita-san White, of course, with her clothing. But she's kind of, you have the OG, which is your long frontrunner. Kita-san White is your medium frontrunner, having a 600 meters remaining, kind of a built-in acceleration. Very small acceleration, but you pair that, of course, with angling and scheming for mediums. So pretty good there. She still has Escaped. She has Escaped Artist built in, still has Taking the Lead built in. So no needing to bring that Mihono Bourbon Wit card that's absolutely trash as a stat stick. She has Groundwork built in, so we have that. You still need to get she has Spring Runner, but she still got to get your other kind of greens in there. She has Prudent Positioning, Medium Straightaways, Leader's Pride, like just all around good. You will get a lot of value out of her as a medium frontrunner. I feel like she's a big pickup for anybody that wants to do the frontrunners on mediums. So very good right there. I really like the fact that she had, there it is, Dodging Danger and Prudent Positioning built in. So you have access to that combo without even needing to get it through the support cards, alongside already having Groundwork. So very, very, very strong, and has most of everything you need built into her kit. Then going into the next banner here, I've already mentioned this card when we looked at the Uma, Sweep Tosho. Now she is more of your end closer support card. But she does have Restraint, which is a green. So, of course, it's the one that will help you avoid getting rushed. You would use this one potentially to try and get it built into your parents and grandparents. I'm not going to worry about that. Just take note of that. And then you have Slipstream, I guess, too, in the hints, like you do in the other Sweep Toe shows, which can have its value for your front runners. But no, you're not going to want to pull over this card. Restraint, I wouldn't worry about it. Let somebody else grind out the parents and grandparents for it, and then you can just try and get it built in through borrowing those stronger parents and grandparents. Special week, she's just no stopping me if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so she's not really relevant to your front runners. All right. We're getting towards the end of this. But let's see. So we get down here. She was not a front runner for me. Yeah, I mean, she can run front. So we'll take a look. She's more of a pace chaser, as you can kind of see here. Nothing too crazy. She's a dirt-focused Uma, but nothing really crazy there. We have a lot of other stuff that are going to be coming after your carrots at this point, too. You can easily skip the rerun of Agnes Tachyon Speed and Tokai Teo Wit. We're getting ready to finish Grand Live at this point, so Agnes Tachyon Speed will fall off. Still good for pace chasers, but will fall off heavily as your stat stick. Tokai Teo Wit, like I said, only good for Kita-san Black and Professor of Curvature. Then you have another big frontrunner, Runaway, coming out in the form of Daitako Helios. Or I know a lot of people really like her. She's a big Oshi for a lot of players. She is a runaway, though. She is a mile runaway. She has like all the mile stuff built into her kit. She's got Speed Eater, has Reckless, which is a new mile skill with the speed increase. She has Changing Gears Gold. Just all around really, really good. 15% speed and power. Not much to talk about it other than she's going to be a very strong mile runaway. So she'll be kind of that meta option there. So a lot of people want to pick her up, but she is kind of right before some of the big banners coming up here. Chaos Miracle, I don't think she mattered. Yeah, she was the other head-on one. Then you have the rerun of Taiki Shuttle Speed with the Machikane Fukukitaru card. Don't worry about it. This card falls off. To me, this card sucks even in Track Blazer right now. I know a lot of people swear by her. But easy skip. I mean, at this point, we're getting ready to get into Grandmasters. Both of those cards are pretty... I mean, Taiki Shuttle, even herself, is going to fall off. Is even a borrow because there's so many other better borrow options coming in at this point. But the next big one. This is the Mihono Bourbon banner. Mihono Bourbon Valentine's replacement. Or basically a carbon copy that is very similar to her. And that is Ines Fujin Valentine's. Her entire kit is very reminiscent of Valentine's Bourbon. Her alt, very similar, although I think it's Bourbon's is a smaller heal. I believe hers is like the equivalent of a white heal. And so hers is a 0.035, so kind of an in-between. And then a 0.25 speed increase versus Mihono Bourbon's, which I think is a 3.5. So you just kind of swap the value. She gets more value out of the stamina, but less out of the speed, but still very strong overall. And the activating condition's a little bit different. It's a first half of the middle leg, so you cannot get like what I've seen with Mihono Bourbon Valentine's, which is late in the middle leg. If she was very far behind and then she activates it, she could get speed carryover. That will not happen with her, but she will activate it regardless as long as she's in the front. So I like that. She has built-in groundwork, built-in frontrunner savvy, built-in concentration, and speed eater. Probably just reminding you of Valentine's Mihono Bourbon. Instead of Escaped Artist, she has Gale Slash, and the only Uma up to today that still has it, which is the golden frontrunner corners. Now, I know with like we've seen with Kita-san Black having the golden straightaway ones not very strong, or at least worth the cost. But we're starting to get to the point where we're getting more and more skill points down the line. And so this is just something extra that you can put on her kit that nobody has access to, and you can get the other skills through other ways. So really nice to have that. She has built-in playtimes over, dodging danger, early lead, front runner straightaways. She has a good chunk of everything you want in her kit, just like Mihono Bourbon. And at this point, her biggest value too will be the Mihono Bourbon Wit card. She can use it. Mihono Bourbon can't. So very, very important one. Her alongside Mihono Bourbon also make very good parent Umas just through the runs with how convenient they are to run. So we have her, and then we go here to, we have Biko Pegasus Power here. I don't think this was just a sprint one. That, oh yeah, this one's she's not even that one. So easy skip on that one. Trying to remember these ones here. Marvelous Sunday. Yeah, she wasn't really good. So that's an easy skip alongside it. Shinko Wendy. She had something in her. I don't think she was front though. Yeah, she doesn't, she's not really front runner, but just something to take note that Shinko Wendy had is she has a lot of mile skills that are kind of useful to it, but her biggest thing really is Mud Master here, which Mud plays a new green for dirts. So something you might want to think about for Kopano Riki. Now you have other ways to access it to a certain extent from other support cards, but she has the gold version of it, and you won't until you see the Shinko Wendy Guts card, the ability to get that outside of any other way. So if you want to get it built into your parents and grandparents for some reason for Kopano Riki, she's one way to do that, but she's by no means a front runner or a must pick up because of that. The Maruzensky rerun, the last one, I believe. But this one has Nishino Flower Wit paired to it. For that one has Determined Descent. But biggest problem, skip this one. Because you can already see what's coming up. Skip it. So go ahead, skip that banner. Hopefully you have Maruzensky in a good shape at that point. If not, you should have at least Limit Break 1. But after that, we have, of course, the Anniversary Umas. Mr. CB is an end closer, but a very strong one. Paired with Twin Turbo. She might be a headache for a lot of people when she comes out, but she's another Runaway. Once she comes out, everybody's going to have a Runaway because she's a 1-star. So Runaways, we'll have to see how people react that don't have Runaways at this point. I think hopefully most people should at this point. But she's very good at being in first place by the late race, although she's very bad in the late race because her ult is basically a permanent speed decrease. But she gets like a very long speed increase in the mid race. And so she can push herself all the way up into the front. She has taking the lead built in. So she has a bunch of stuff that gets her into the front, but then she dies at the late race. So she's more of a Runaway blocker than anything else. We'll have to see how much of a nuisance she becomes. But just know that she will be showing up when we get to that anniversary. Paired alongside Major Romanu. We've all talked about her. Very strong. The most powerful wit card, the Fine Motion replacement. And she has a speed increase for medium and miles that just works on everyone. Go ahead and put your pulls on her, pick her up. And then as we move a little bit past that, we have some reruns. We come all the way to Ancestors and Guides SSR card. This is an area where a lot of Japanese players got really mad because they split the PAL/group card, Ancestor and Guides, from the scenario banner. And so a lot of people dumped into Major Romanu, like you should do. And then they realized, holy crap, the mandatory card came 2 banners later, and they just got drained from this one. To me, this one is going to be a borrow card. I know, I know some people say, well, just put in 200 pulls, get 1 copy, so you have the mandatory aspects of it. To me, I feel like it's just going to be a borrow card. Hopefully at this point you have strong enough decks, even free to plays if you've been playing a while, should be at a point where you have a full SSR deck to make work through this scenario. I believe there's only 3 Champions meetings during this one, and I think it's 3 Champions meetings and 2 League of Heroes, something like that. So there's less Champions meetings. Now, League of Heroes are just important to build strong Umas, but League of Heroes will be a little bit more casual for people that are not trying to get the top ranks in the leaderboard. And so using her as the borrow and maybe having a little bit stronger of a deck is going to definitely be worth it versus pulling on it when it's going to die immediately after the scenario. And you can save those pulls for one of the niche cards up here, which one of them being way up here, Mihono Bourbon Wit, which isn't far off. So to me, easy skip and permanent borrow on Ancestors and Guards, because that banner is just absolute trash, being by herself like that. You have, those ones aren't. So we have another big one that I think a lot of people are going to me, it's going to be a very easy skip, but it's definitely a banner to think about. I think if you're a medium or even a heavier spender, this is going to be a good banner. It's one that I've really thought about. This is the one that I feel like, since I'm going to skip Ancestor and Guides, that I will pull on because I'm saving pulls from Ancestors and Guides. And that is because, well, first one is McQueen Stamina here. This is going to be very strong for your pacers, of course, being McQueen. But this is a stamina card that would, for me, replace Super Creek for the longs. Now, I think right after this one, when I look at the Champions meetings, it's perfect timing for it. But the Kyoto 3200 dropped right after. So this started at 12 April 2023, 3200 meter. And she dropped 328. They dropped her right before the 3200 meter long. And so she's a really good stat stick, of course. But her heal is a guaranteed, it's almost like Breath of Fresh Air, because Breath of Fresh Air at this point will have been buffed that it's guaranteed middle leg. Same thing here, but it's a random point during the middle leg. So it can be any time in the middle leg. But not only do you get the gold heal, you get a speed increase. So now your heal is also a speed skill. And with your front runners, to keep yourself in the front, you're wanting every speed skill you can get. And being able to get an additional speed skill built into your stamina is very, very nice. It's going to be one of the reasons Air Shocker stamina is so strong in the meta card right now and just completely replaces Super Creek in those. It's because she has a heal. It's Breath of Fresh Air, I believe. Or not Breath of Fresh Air. It's Chain Reaction, I think is the name. It's guaranteed middle leg that has a speed increase tied to it. Same thing here, except that only it works on longs. And so very nice. She has early lead. For your pace chaser, she has True Worth, which is the white version of Monster, which is a way to get acceleration on pace chasers and longs. But it has Feature Act and some other goodies in here. Kyoto Race Course Stamina, Wet Conditions. So I feel like this is a very good card for wailing out on, but not just because of this card on the longs, but another one right on it, which it is paired with Nice Nature SSR Power. And Nice Nature SSR Power, I didn't mention it back on the Daitako Helios Speed card, but this is this card is like the reason I don't want to pull on Daitako Helios Speed for my parents and grandparents. And that is because if I pull for that McQueen card, you have this Nice Nature card paired with it. It's a power card, fairly strong on the stat stick overall. Now, she's going to be more focused on your end closers and late surge in terms of what she has built in, but she has a lot of other stuff to me that you can use outside of that. The key thing being in the right place, which is Golden Slipstream, which is on Daitako Helios. And when you look at her training events here, she has guaranteed Tail Held High, which is good for everybody, built into her first event. Her second one has guaranteed Nimble Navigator, because you pick the second event here, and then that gets you Nimble Navigator. It can only happen if you choose the second choice. So now you got Nimble Navigator. So you can kind of get a mix of the parents for not only front runners, but also your lates, ends, and paces with Nimble Nav. And then you get guaranteed No Gamble, which pretty much I think all support cards start being this way. They stop doing the gamble with getting the white. You get the gold version of Slipstream. To me, a very strong parent-grandparent card. She does have 5% race bonus if I bring her, if I'm still doing Track Blazer at this time, which I will be, because I don't think we really move into, you can do parent runs and Grandmasters, but Track Blazer is also still potential. I think Lark is really when we see it die, because that one just becomes outright better. But to me, very, very good card. And so both of them being together on the same banner just makes me feel like it's a good one to pick up here. And this one, you don't even need high limit break. I mean, it's mood effect here. Just get limit break 1 to get the stamina bonus off of it for your parent runs. And it has almost everything else that you want. So I will definitely be pulling on this banner and hopefully getting some stuff out of that versus doing the Ancestors and Guides. And then kind of going out from there, I think most of these are, these ones are not front runners. We have Sakura Bakshino, another sprinter. I think I still prefer the OG over this one. She's kind of weird, and if she's in the top 3 out of 400 meters remaining in the race, your acceleration will increase, but it's a special scaling based on other skills you activate. So more gambling to it. I think the OG one, just to me, better to a certain extent. She does have groundwork built in, and frontrunner savvy, so she's more front focused. So I guess you could pick her up, but I haven't really theory crafted a build for her yet. Just know that she's a sprinter that's coming up. But, I mean, she is paired with, of course, the last card I want to talk about in this banner to kind of end it. Everybody knows Mihono Bourbon Wit. Pairing this with Summer Murzenski, you have Golden Groundwork, Frontrunner Savvy, like anything else that you kind of need to finish off that really strong Frontrunner parent, grandparent, plus very strong for your Frontrunner aces. Just having Golden Groundwork, and she's the only card that will have it to this day in JP. Now, as we get farther into the future, Groundwork basically becomes much easier to get overall, but you also have other aces that'll have Golden Groundwork built in when it falls off, but this one will hold on to value for quite a bit of time until Daiwa Scarlet Wit drops, which is quite a wit, I believe is the power creep over this one. So very long-lasting wit card for your front runners, and it even has potential for like getting groundwork and stuff on your pace chasers as well, depending on the tracks and stuff. So this one is the big must pick up, and so that's why it's kind of tricky with some of these other support cards down here, and why Ancestors and Guides to me very easy skip. You just have too many other things that are going to be trying to take your carrots through this banner, and you just need to hold on to them for dear life. Because you do want to save for the PAL card that drops at the end. We're not going to go through anything else up to this point, just kind of mentioning those. El Contrapasa Speed, your Kida-san Black power creep, alongside the PAL card for Lark. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's everything Frontrunner kind of focused and my thoughts on it. Hopefully this added a little bit compared to what others have covered. I haven't watched anybody else's to really know how they covered it, but I feel like I have some unique takes on it, especially going from whether you're playing as a free-to-play versus how diverse people's decks are now, as well as if you're a medium spender, because I feel like there's a lot of options that don't get talked about for those medium spenders, and I'll kind of continue to do that with the other ones that I'll cover, is because I've seen complaints on people that are heavier or medium spenders, where a lot of us kind of mentioned Curran-chan being strong, but an easy skip. And then they realize, holy crap, if you do the triple wit with Nice Nature, Curran-chan, and Fine Motion, that's a really good deck at getting max wit, especially in Unity Cup. So I'm trying to cover the more niche options for those people as well here. Not everything I covered here as being a strong card are like must pulls. A lot of them are very good borrows. And like I was saying, like I've kind of showcased my deck. This to me should be, even your free-to-play front-running mains should be able to build this deck for going into Trackblazer and getting a lot of good white sparks on your parents and grandparents, because it's what you have your borrow in there, and you have your must-pull cards alongside the free card and an SR card that's been out since the beginning of the game launch. But that's pretty much it for frontrunners all the way through up to Mihono Bourbon Wit. They will continue to be strong for a little bit after that. Eventually, I know they will fall off, and that's more of the lack of skills compared to paces and late surgers. But all it takes is them releasing the next big frontrunner meta card for their stocks to continue to rise. So continuing to work on your frontrunners, even at that point, and for League of Heroes, will still be very, very important. But that's going to be it for now. And if you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.